Hello, this video is for people who have never made soap before and would like to do it for home use. I'm not going to use any fancy oils, things that you can't get a hold of at your local store, except your lye. Lye cannot be purchased on the shelves anymore. You have to order it online unless your state is different. So you would have to purchase the lye. We'll go over the things that we need. You can purchase this at Walmart. It is pure coconut oil. If you want to go organic, they offer the organic coconut oil on the same shelf. You will find it close to the lard on your baking aisle. And you want to pick up some lard. The next thing you want to pick up is vegetable oil. You want to flip the container around and you want to make sure it says only soybean oil. You don't want any other ingredients, and you don't want it to say could have traces of nut or peanut oil. You want it to only say soybean oil. You do not have to buy expensive, just plain the cheapest soybean oil you can find. You can get this at Walmart or most drugstores. This is glycerin. If you want to be a little bit more conservative with your recipe, you can use a vegetable-based glycerin. This is what I use, which is a glycerin that is vegetable-based. And I purchase it from New Directions Aromatics online. But you can pick that up at a health food store in smaller quantities, because this is for the person who is just going to make soap, maybe for themselves, their friends, maybe to store away in case of a tragedy. Maybe you're going to vacuum seal it and put it in your bug out case, or store it in an underground facility so that you have an inexpensive soap that will work good and will be storable for the future. Now, this is vitamin E. I did pick this up at my health food store. You want to have that. It's not a requirement, but it is a healing element to the soap. You want to have a small bowl, and this is dirty because I'm currently making soap. I've got several crock pots going at the moment. This it's just got oil on it. This is a stainless steel. You don't want to use anything that is aluminum, only stainless steel. It's good to have a bowl that measures out cups, a 4-cup or 2-cup measuring cup, and a whisk. As I said, stainless steel. Now, this is a postage scale. You can pay big money to get a scale that is designed for soaping, but you can pick up a United States Postal Service scale. I believe you can even purchase them from your local post office, and you can use that. Now, I'm going to try to make this recipe so that you can do it with a measuring cup. I'm going to attempt it in this video. We'll see how that works for those of you who do not have a scale. And this is not for retail sale. This is for your personal use. Also, you want an extra virgin cold pressed olive oil. This bottle is empty. It's one I was using for cooking. I have a much bigger bottle that I use out of. It has a little in the bottom. But this olive oil is just so that you could see to purchase a small bottle. Or you can use the olive oil that you have in your kitchen right now. But it is better for the skin if you're using the extra virgin, the dark green or almost green yellow olive oil. Alright, another thing you're going to need is a sharp knife to cut your soap with. This is a luxury. You don't have to have this, but they sell these at Walmart, and they have an inch lines on them. These are sold in the where they have the materials for baking fancy cakes. This is in the cake section, but not like baking, like where you get fancy things for decorating cakes. It's plastic. It has a film on it, so it's easy to clean, and it's durable. But this is just a luxury. You don't have to have this. And then you have to have some type of container that you're going to pour your soap in to let it harden. And we'll go over those options a little later. Now this is the one thing, this is the lie. You can purchase this on eBay, or you can go to Essential Depot, I guess that's .com, yeah, essentialdepot.com, and purchase their lye. They have a 1.5 pound container, I think for $3.45. But they also have a 4-pound container for $10.49. This container will make you 4 to 5 batches of soap, depending on if you use this recipe or if you alter the recipe. I'm going to discuss with you how you can alter your recipe to some degree to make a larger batch. Alright, so I'm going to move away from this station, and we're going to start, and you need a crock pot. Sorry about that. We need an older crock pot. I prefer that you do not use the crock pot that is in your kitchen sink. In your kitchen cabinets. I prefer that you go to a junk store or a used store or a yard sale and pick one up that you're only going to use for making soap. This crock pot, as you can see, has some soap residue, but it's just your average size. It's not the little one. It's your average, what everybody used to consider as the only size. Now, as you can see, I have several crock pots going with soap right now, but this is the extra big size. And you can purchase one of these, and you would want to double the recipe that I'm going to show you today. I don't have those going at the moment. Alright, but I have this one set aside for us to work with today for our soap for personal use, maybe preparing ahead, and maybe you're going to put it in Ziploc bags or vacuum seal it, or just personal use to put in your own bathroom. Alright, I will bring you back. Okay, now this is our coconut oil. This is also 12 ounces. I accidentally went over 1 point, but that's it's not worth the concern over. Same thing. This is slightly over an ounce and a cup and 3/4. Just slightly over. Okay, now we're going to start cooking our soap. Okay, now we want 12 ounces of our lard. I have heated this lard in the container so that I could see what it came to on our scale of cups. This is 1 cup, this is 1.5 cups, and this is 2 cups. We are slightly over 1 3/4 cups. You can see that here's the line, and it's just slightly over. I don't recommend this, but if you do not have a scale and you want to attempt making soap, that is a measurement scale. Okay, now we're going to do the coconut oil. Okay, now we're going to measure our vegetable oil. I highly recommend a scale. This is 7.5 ounces of soybean oil. And my scale is lightly crooked, but when I level this, it comes not to 1 1/4 cups. If you can see, that this line is 1 1/4 cups, and this is slightly under it. And this is 1 1/2 cups. So this is slightly below 1 1/4 cups. So I still recommend a scale, because lye and oil, it's a very particular thing. But if you don't have a scale and you want to try to do it with a guess, then this is what you can do. Okay, we need our lye. Now we need a dry container that has no moisture in it, and we need 5 ounces on the scale, or 1/2 cup. Now the way we do that is we turn our scale off, put our measuring cup on, and turn the scale back on. That will bring your scale to 0. Then you can pour your lye into your container. So we need 5 ounces, or to the best of my ability to tell with a measuring cup, is 1/2 cup. It could be just a touch under. So, but that's the best guess I can come up with for measuring it off of a scale, is it's slightly below 1/2 cup. Okay, so now we have our lye. We can set that aside. Now this lye is safe as long as it doesn't touch water. The moment it touches water, it becomes unsafe. So we want to keep this at the back of our counter, away from children, away from a place that we might accidentally, like we don't want to set it beside the sink where water could splash into it. We don't want to set it in a place where you might accidentally bump it or turn it over. So that lye needs to be put away and out of reach of children, or in a safe, away from water area. Okay, now we're going to measure our water. I only recommend using a pitcher, and I guess that's a 2-quart, a 1/2 gallon pitcher. You can pick those up from the Dollar Tree or from Dollar General. I suppose also Walmart. A nice thick plastic, not one of the thin flimsy ones. The reason I do this is because it puts the water and lye down here in the bottom, so it's not easy to spill. It has a good handle, it's easy to hold on to, and you can put your whisk all the way down into the bottom and whisk without worry of the lye water splashing up. It's deep and it's skinny. It's just perfect. So this is what I recommend that you use. Now the way I do it is I turn my scale on, and that gives me a 0. And then once I have a 0, I have a second one, and I've already put 11.9 ounces of water in here. Okay? So, but let's see what that comes out to in our measuring cup. That's our measuring cup. It's got a little bit of water in it. Let me get that out. Okay, now we're going to turn on our scale. That zeroes out, and we're going to measure again. And this is our 11.9 ounces of water. And as I said, my table is slightly not level. So when I level that, it is, and I'm knowing you can't see this with my camera, but it is in between 1 1/3 cup, or just slightly above 1 1/3 cup. That's slightly above 1 1/3 cup. And I highly recommend that you use a scale. So for your measuring, I'll take off my glove. This is 1 1/3 and our water level is just slightly above it. So that's how much water you need. Now let's pour that back in our container. And we're going to add our lye. Make sure you wear gloves. And you want to put this not close to the edge of a counter. You want to put it in the back. Sit it in your sink as long as your sink has a level space so it won't tip. And all you do, oh, I forgot. If you have not had a scale, I want you to take 1 teaspoon of this lye away and put it back in your bottle, okay? This will give you a healthy margin, because if you put too much lye in your soap, then your soap could still zat you, as they say. So by taking away 1 teaspoon of your lye, you guarantee to some degree that you won't end up with too much lye in your mixture. Because, and I highly recommend that you're using a scale, but I'm trying to help out people who don't have a scale and are trying to make soap for their own personal use here. So that's why I'm saying take away a teaspoon. And that way you have a safety margin. And if you feel like you really might have messed it up, take away a tablespoon. It won't hurt anything. So now I need to get my gloves back on. Okay, and I'm going to dump my lye. And by having a container that's smaller than the opening, you can do the bounce. And then I'm going to put the whisk in here and whisk. Do not get over the top of the container. You want to step away from the container because there's fumes. If you're in your kitchen, turn on your stove vent, or you can do this outside. If you don't have any dogs, it's liable to jump up and knock it over on you. I have dogs. Normally I do this in my kitchen with my stove vent on, but for this video I'm stepping clearly as far away from the container as possible so not to breathe the fumes. Okay, never put that down on your counter. Always put it in something glass so that you can take it straight to the sink. And you can set that far back away from the edge of the container. If you have children running around in your house, do not do this. Just wait till they're not, wait till at night when they're asleep. Now I'm going to put this in the sink, and I'll come back in a few moments and we'll start cooking our soap. Okay, now we're going to mix our lye with our oils. You have to wear gloves. I highly recommend that you wear shoes, long pants, and that you wear goggles. Now I have put the oils in the crock pot. Every crock pot's a little different on temperature, so it could take 10 minutes and it could take 30 minutes, but only on low. And you want to heat up your oils until they're melted. Or if you've measured your oils and you've had to heat them first in the microwave, then your oils are already hot, but you want to warm them up just a little bit for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes in your crock pot. Now, you can use a whisk. You can use a wooden spoon. You never want to use this spoon for anything but soap. And repeated use of a wooden spoon deteriorates the spoon and you have to throw it out. So when I find them cheap, 2 for $1, I buy them, use them a few times. As soon as they look like they're deteriorating, I throw them away. But you will stir forever and ever and ever. This is a stick blender. I highly recommend that you get one. If you have one already, remember you're putting this in lye. I never use a stick blender again for food purposes after I have used it with lye. You stick your stick blender in and you have your lye firmly in hand You put your stick blender on high. Then you stop and you go put this in the sink where it's safe and you flush it with water. Okay, I have flushed my pitcher with water and left it in the sink. And remember, if you have children running around, just don't do this. Let me bring you up so you can see what it looks like. Okay, now I'm going to take a break for about 2 minutes and then I'm going to do it again. Okay, we're still at it. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to see how thick it is. This is not trace yet. This is still too thin and we do not have trace. You might say that there's a very, very light trace because you can barely see a mark on the other soap when I knock it, but this is not what we're looking for. And so we're still just working with our stick blender to bring it to trace with our crock pot on low. And this could take you anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on your crock pot. And you just keep stirring. If you don't do this, your soap will separate and it will boil over. You have to do this. This is not a stage that you can forget. Okay, I'll bring you back. Okay, this is what I call a light trace. Can you see the swirls in the soap? It's starting to get very custardy in its consistency, and it's gloppy. This is a light trace. This is not what we want, but it's close. All right, I'm just going to keep going, and I'll keep you in the loop. Okay, we have came to trace. It took about 20 minutes. When I knock, I know that was loud, but that's the only way to do it. You have to get all the residue off your stick blender. Now, if you'll notice, there are puddles in the soap, and it's very gloppy. This is what we want. This is called a heavy, well, this is called a heavy trace. There are such a thing as a heavier trace than this, but this is what we want. Alright, now we're going to put the lid on our crock pot. And now, for the first hour, you are going to stay in the presence of your crock pot because your crock pot can boil over. And if it gets close to the top, you want to turn it off, take off the lid, stir it, and then you want to put your lid cracked like this so it's not perfectly sealed. Leave the crock pot off for 10 minutes and then cut it back on low and leave your lid cracked. Some crock pots, they just get hotter than others. So you have to watch them very closely. Alright, I'll bring you back. Okay, this is what we call getting close to a boil over. It's not really there, but it's getting extra bubbly. So I'm going to crack the lid so that just a little bit of heat can get out. Now we're going to cook this for 2 hours, but for the first hour you have to stay close to it because of this particular reason. Now I'm going to take you over here and show you what soap looks like after it's been cooking for an hour. And you can see it is doubling over on itself. It's rising up around the edges and folding in towards the middle. When you stir it, it has pockets that looks like Vaseline, but yet it still has some whiteness and cloudiness to it. This soap has been cooking for just a little bit over an hour. This soap is not made out of the same oils that yours is. This has some more, you might say, exotic oils in it. Oils that are more expensive, oils that you have to order or go to health food stores and seek out and pay high dollar for. But it's all the same in the cooking process. All the soap will look pretty much the same as it's cooking. Always beat your spoon off well and then put your lid back on it. Here you see this one, I've already stirred one time and it is beginning to come up again. Usually it will do this a good 2 times before the soap is ready. Here is the soap that has been cooking for an hour that I've already stirred, and we're just starting to get it to foaming up on the edges where it's going to come up and turn over on itself. Okay, we'll keep an eye on our soap, and remember, if it starts getting close to the top, then we're going to stir it. Otherwise, we're going to leave it alone until it's cooked for an hour. If you fear that it's going to boil over, cut the heat off for 10 to 20 minutes and let your crock pot cool down some. Just remember to turn it back on. You don't want to leave your crock pot off for the rest of the cook time. Just let it cool off for 10 to 20 minutes and then cut it back on. Okay, this is a website that you'll want to visit. You don't have to visit for this recipe, but as you begin to maybe want to branch out and do more things with your soaping, maybe you don't want to just do it for personal use, maybe you want to do it for friends and family, you might want to choose more, I don't know, maybe we might use the word exotic oils, like avocado oil, shea butter, cocoa butter. And this website is called soapcal.net. SOAPCALC.net. Then you will look and you will click on the soap calculator. Here you can choose different oils, work with it, click, and you can click to calculate the recipe and then view the recipe, and it will tell you exactly how much lye, how much water, and all the different factors of your recipe. So you can consider these, and it shows you how hard the recipe will be, how soft, how cleansing, how conditioning, how bubbly, how creamy, and so forth and so on. So this website is a good website for a soaper to go to. It's not necessary for this particular project that we're doing, your first time soaper, but it is a good website that you will enjoy. Okay, our soap has been cooking for an hour. It is boiling over onto itself. If you can see the almost clearness of that Vaseline look, that is what we're looking for. Now we're going to stir this soap one time at the hour point. Scrape down the sides. Okay, now as I said, I'm making this soap for homemade laundry detergent. So I'll probably put this video out there, parts of it, as an attachment for a homemade laundry soap detergent video. But this is also wonderful for preparing ahead for disaster. You can put this soap in a vacuum sealer and seal it up. It'll just last you forever. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was essential oils. Now, as I said, tea tree, which one of these is tea tree? Tea tree is like putting antibiotics in your soap. You can purchase these in small bottles at your health food store. Make sure that you seriously consider tea tree as an additive to your soap. You can read about other essential oils that are great for health. Lemongrass is another essential oil that has been known to be healing, especially for acne. So that would be a nice additive to add with the tea tree to give it a little lemon scent. The tea tree sort of has a mossy, musky wood smell. So you could add a little lemongrass as well. Now, there's all kinds of wonderful essential oils out there. Another one is cedarwood. I still have some empty bottles in the little. This cedarwood I bought at a health food store for $5.50. Cedarwood has been known for ages to repel insects. So bathing with cedar also takes away your natural odor and makes you smell like part of the forest. Another great one is pine. I know I have it here somewhere. This is Scotch pine, or pine Scotch, it says. This is wonderful for making you not smell like a human and making you smell like the woods that you're possibly hiding in. But it's also great for causing insects to avoid you. But it does not have as good a properties as your cedarwood. Now, this is a new one for me, and I've just bought it. It's called citronella. Citronella has been used for maybe not ages, but for a long time. It's used in all those citronella candles and whatnot. It has a very lemony scent, would go very well with your tea tree, and that's also a wonderful additive that you can add to your soap. I do recommend that you pick 2 scents, one of them being tea tree, and then you can add the other. Citronella is untested for me. I just purchased this bottle. I'm just starting to try it. I've had it highly recommended on YouTube by other soapers, and so you can check out some of their videos. Alright, now we're going to talk about super fatting. I'll bring you back in just a moment. Okay, now we're going to talk about super fatting. Super fatting is oils that's sitting in the soap that did not siphonify during the cooking process and is there to moisturize your skin. If you have oily skin, you might want to reduce this amount. For an average person, I put in 3 ounces. I went over by a point, but I'm not worried about it. I have put in 1 ounce of olive oil and 2 ounces of coconut oil. You can use the organic or the regular that's purchased at Walmart. And on the olive oil, I have purchased the first pressed, cold pressed extra virgin olive oil. Now we want to add vitamin E to our mix. So I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of vitamin E in our super fats. Then we're going to add glycerin. I use the vegetable base. You can purchase what they sell at Walmart or a local drugstore, or you can go to a health food store. Okay, I'm going to measure that out. Okay, I've poured that in. That's 1 tablespoon of glycerin. Now, if you were making this for laundry detergent, you would not want to super fat your soap. Just leave it like it is. Okay, now we're going to talk about fragrance while our soap is cooking. There is a fragrance calculator on brambleberry.com. You would choose rebatch soap because they don't list hot process, and rebatch is pretty much the same thing. You would pick 32 ounces on your scale of what you're making, because it's only the oils that count. And then on the bottom you have your essential oils on the right and your fragrance oils on the left. Fragrance is chemicals. It's chemically designed to smell like let's say here, baby rose fragrance oil. Over here, this is essential oils of animals, plants, flowers, leaves, bark, roots, different things of that sort. Today, I would advise that if you're going to purchase an essential oil, that you would consider using tea tree as one of your fragrances. So I'm going to click on tea tree. Tea tree is a wonderful healing additive to soap, especially if you're going to be using this for a time of crisis and you're going to be storing it away. Tea tree is like an antibiotic in the soap. It's great for healing wounds when you... Sorry about that. My battery gave out on my camera. So, I had to put in a new battery. So, here it tells you that if you want to settle, you're to 0.16 ounces, 1 teaspoon, and 0 tablespoons. So, it's not a whole tablespoon, 1 teaspoon. If you want a medium strength, 0.32 ounces or 2 teaspoons. If you want it strong, which is what I recommend if you're going to be using this for, well, just your everyday soap. It heals acne, it fights foot fungus, it controls it, it prevents it, cures it, it kills head lice. Tea tree is a wonderful essential oil. Check it out online. But it says here that you're to use 0.64 or 4 teaspoonfuls. I highly recommend, even if you're going to add another fragrance in the mix, that you still add 4 teaspoons full of your tea tree essential oil. You won't regret it. It will be wonderful in your soap. It will keep you healthy, skin-wise, that is. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to super fat your soap. Oh, let me show you how it's ready. See how glistening and oily and Vaseline looking it is? And this is cooked for 2 hours. Now, I've turned the crock pot off, and I'm going to add my super fats now. I need a spatula. Okay. I'm using a spatula to scrape all the goodness out of my bowl. Alright, let me set this aside. Now we're going to stir in the super fats. We got to scoop up from the bottom. Make sure you work that spoon. Okay. Now we're going to put the lid back on this crock pot and we're going to let it sit. It's already been sitting with the power off for a few minutes, but we're going to let this sit for 30 minutes. We're not going to touch it, and we're going to check the temperature and make sure that it's cool enough to add essential oils. Okay, now we're going to talk about molds that you can use that you have at home. Any type of plastic container will work just as good as glass, but I'm bringing out the glass containers today. This is a glass loaf pan, what you might call for a loaf of bread, I guess. That is a handy one, and it makes a tall bar of soap, so that's good. This is equally as wide one way as it is the other. This one will make a skinnier bar, but then you can cut it sort of like a tic-tac-toe board, and you'll have 9 bars of soap. So this is a good container for using that you already have at home. I'm going to use this one today because I want my bars to be extra skinny, because I'm actually making this soap for myself to use to make homemade laundry detergent. So even though I've been talking about soap to use for bugging out, soap for storing for the long haul, or just soap for yourself, for your own home, or a first-time soaper trying to see if they would like to, or enjoy to do this. This is just a starting point. That's all. Now, once we have our mold, then we need freezer paper. Freezer paper is plastic-coated paper that prevents the soap from sticking to the glass and causes it to be removed easily. We're going to need 2 strips of freezer paper. The shiny side comes up. First, you want one long ways, and you don't want it to curl up around the edges too much, but it's okay if it does a little. And we need some tape. I'm going to take and pull off a little piece of tape, and I'm going to put my hand in, fold it over, and I'm going to stick that way. Then I'm going to put this hand in here and put this hand in this way, and that's how we're going to put the other piece, because we've got to be careful that we don't get the plastic paper too tight. So hand in here, slide over, then get our curled over amount, and I totally messed that piece of tape up. But life happens. I never take out my bloopers because I think it's more fun when you see my mistakes. And life happens. It's good to see what other people's mistakes are, and that way you can prevent making them yourself. Shiny side up, we have another strip. Now, you see the little folded crevices on the corners? That's going to make marks in the soap. So, you can take and cut this just a little skinnier. And so I'm going to cut just a little bit more off. Okay, we just want to be careful not to show too much glass in the corners, because that's just going to make it hard to get our soap out. So I'm going to bend this down first and then fight with the tape. You don't have to make such a big flap. I just didn't cut it off. So my tape's going to come all the way to the bottom, but you don't have to do that. Just make sure you've got some bent over the top. Okay, now we have a lined kitchen container that we can use for soap. And this is what I'm going to pour the soap in today, because as I said, I'm making some plain Jane soap for homemade laundry detergent. But the things that we're going to add to the soap, or not add to the soap, but I'm going to show you how to add to the soap, will make this wonderful for also using for your home on your personal body. Okay, I'll bring you back in a moment. Okay, now this is set for 30 minutes. I've only added the super fats. Now I'm going to put a candy thermometer in the soap and see what temperature it is. We want this to be 150 to 140. Once you let it get below 140, the soap becomes too hard to deal with. It doesn't mold well. It's just hard to deal with. So right now we have already got over 150 and we are looking at 180. So this still has some time to go. I'm going to just put the lid on it and let it cool down. And I'll bring you back. Okay, I have removed the soap from the crock pot and put it in a glass bowl. Always use glass. Otherwise, the soap closer to the edge of the plastic bowl will get too cool and begin to harden on you. So you want to use glass. It retains some heat and keeps a more even temperature. Alright, I find that if you swish it around every now and then, it gives you a more accurate reading. And right now we're sitting at 160. So we've got to come down 10 more degrees to put our essential oils in. So I'm doing a cinnamon and clove. And as I said, I highly recommend that you do tea tree. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. Now, cinnamon, if you leave it just like it is out of the container and put it in the soap, it makes the soap have a exfoliation properties. So when you scrub the bar directly on the skin, it's extra cleansing and it helps to remove dead skin cells or broken, dead, drying skin. So that's a nice thing about just adding cinnamon straight to the soap. Okay, now I'm adding this now, but I'm also stirring, and by stirring, that's causing me to get some of the heat out. So I'm using this twofold. I need to come down 10 degrees, but at the same time, I also need to stir in the spice. And while it's a little hotter, around 160, that makes a good time to move because the soap moves really well. And of course you've super fatted this soap, so that makes it more luscious and more fluid. It's much easier to work with a super fatted soap. Now I recommend that you use tea tree, that you go to the fragrance calendar at brambleberry.com and do your fragrance according to their chart. And citronella or cedarwood or lemongrass for soap that is going to be used for a disaster situation or preparing ahead, wilderness, camping, anything of that sort. That would be the soap essential oils that I would use. Okay, so now we have our cinnamon good and mixed in. Let me bring you up where you can see. There we go. And now I'm going to check the temperature again. As I said, I don't know why, but swirling it around. You don't want the thermometer to touch the bottom of the jar. You want it to be in the middle of the soap. And we're just a touch hotter than 150. So I'm going to stir it just a little bit more. We don't lack much. And the reason that we have to bring our temperature down is because essential oils have flash points. And if you put the essential oil in when it's too hot, it will burn off or flash off the goodness of your essential oils. And your soap will not smell properly, and it won't have the benefit that you were desiring. So I'm going to just keep stirring. You're always wanting to clean down the edges because it will get firmer around the outside edge. And if you just keep pushing that back down the soap, then the heat will reconstitute it and make it back into soap. Or that is, molten soap. Alright, let's check our temperature again. It's best if you don't be touching it, because if you're touching this part here, your own natural body temperature is going to influence it. Not to say that you would have temperature over 150 degrees, hopefully. Well, I've hit 140, and now I'm getting close to 150. I'm just waiting to see if it's going to hit 150, but it doesn't look like it is. Let's just stir it around one more time. Okay, it's sitting at about 151. I can live with that. So this recipe is calling for, I'm using cinnamon and clove. And so I'm going to put in my clove now. I need to get a tablespoon. And if you put your clove in too soon, you will know it, because your nose will begin to sting where you're burning off your essential oils. And you just want to work this in really well. You want to stir it up liberally, clean off the sides regularly, and you just want to keep working with it till you get all the good smell in there. And you know, you can add a little bit more than what they say. It's not a absolute. Alright, let me show you what this looks like. I had a little drop fault get away. As you can see, it is very molten, very luscious, glistening, and it just smells awesome. Alright, now I'm not going to show you putting this into a mold. I'm going to show you using the soap that we were making before, that we were using for possible bug out, first time soap maker, wanting to just make soap for your own home, and or I'm using it to make homemade laundry detergent. So I'm going to show you that next, and I'm going to put this in a different kind of mold that I use because I'm going to sell this soap. You have a great day. Keep watching. Okay, our soap is ready. It's nice and Vaseline-y and ready to go in the mold. Now, I'm using this for laundry detergent, but I've already showed you how to superfat your soap, and I've already showed you how to add essential oils. But for this particular soap, I am using it for laundry detergent, so it is going to be El Natural. I'm cleaning down my sides and dumping that. And here is the mold that we made out of a cooking dish. And I'm just going to fill it by sort of plopping the soap into the container. And swishing it around. Oh, and this is what our pot looks like while I'm scraping it out. Okay, now I'm going to put you right here where you can't see real well. So I'm going to tip it a little bit. And I'm just going to take and swish the soap around and level it out with my spoon. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to knock it. I'm going to pick it up and drop it several times. Now that gave us a nice, it took out the air bubbles and it sort of leveled out the top. Now I'm going to set this soap aside, and you can take and put another piece of the freezer paper on top of it, just loosely, just to keep the heat in. And you're going to want to let this set for 12 hours. And I will show you in another video, or add it to the end of this video, how I cut it. Okay. My camera, the memory card got full, and so now I have cut this half into twos, and now so we have 4 bars of soap. This one will make 4 bars as well. If you want to, on this rough side, you can just lightly go over it a little bit and take off the roughness. Okay, and if you are using this for your bug out bag, you might want this to be smaller. And so you can take and cut it again. And this soap is perfect for putting in your bug out bag. And now the way you would store this is one of 2 ways. You can wrap this in regular cellophane, like what you put over a bowl and it sticks around the edges. You take it and you lay it down and you fold it up, and then you take a pair of scissors and cut off the top, and then you take a heat gun and lightly go over it. More here, but it's like a little and take off, a little pat, a little pat. If you do too much, you will melt your soap. Or you can simply put this in your vacuum sealer. You can pull out a sheet and, set them a little ways away from each other and put them in and seal them, and it'll just come down around the edges. Or you can just seal 1 bar at a time. And then it's perfect for storage. You do want to let these sit out and air for a week before you seal them, and let them finish curing and hardening up. After 2 days, you can take a bath with it. But if you're going to store it or seal it for long-term use, you want to let it cure for a week before you do that. Alright, well, I hope you have enjoyed this video about how, 1, we can take this and grate it and make our homemade laundry detergent, or 2, we can use this for our own personal use, or 3, we can store this for long-term use by vacuum sealing it, which would make it seal the longest, for disaster preparedness. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please click the like button, please subscribe, and please, please, please leave me your comments. I really enjoy your comments. Thank you and have a great day. Okay, I just wanted to give you a glimpse because I know you got to see the other soaps that I was making. This is citronella and tea tree. That's a wonderful soap to use to ward off insects and to kill insects. When you take a bath with tea tree, if you step away from the spray and lather up, and then let it sit on the foam sit on your body for an hour, for a minute or two, and then rinse off. If you have any critters that you've gotten from being outside, they're dead. And this is patchouli and tea tree. And this is cinnamon and clove. And this is the one that we mix together. And these are the moles that I use. They drop down on the sides and on the end. And if you'll look at some of my other videos, you can see how these moles work, even how I build them. So if you want to make some serious soap for long-term storage, or if you're wanting to learn to make soap and you want to do it with more, you want to do it more, and have a larger stockpile of soap, you might be interested in building these soap molds. And so go on to my channel and look at how I build the soap molds, and it's me and my father in the workshop. I think you'll really enjoy it. And this is the freezer paper, and this is a little test I've done with some new plastic that I found at Lowe's. And I'm going to do a video about that and see how that turns out. But these is the 3 soaps, the 3 loaves of soap that I made today. And I'm going to be making 3 more tomorrow. And I'll try to do some more videoing for everybody. Have a great YouTube night.